this is Angela from Booklet. Today I wanted to demonstrate a few ways to make booklet closures. I use booklets a lot in my journals because I like to decorate my journals up, and I like things that can be removed so they can be written on and then reinserted. However, some of these can also be glued straight into a junk journal. So to start with, I'm going to make the easiest one to do, which is a simple fold. It doesn't need anything else, doesn't need any cutouts, any special tools, anything. So the way that I do these is that I cut a piece of paper that is twice the width of the booklet that I want, and plus an extra 1/2 to 1 centimetre on top of that. So I've cut this piece of paper, and this one, because it's going to have a lot of folding in it, it's actually longer than I needed. So I just fold my pieces over, my edges over like this. Make sure I've got a fold over, and then just squash it flat. Don't measure, I don't score, I just squash it flat and run my nail along it. So now I've got a double door booklet cover, and on this one I'm going to fold it up. Just fold the end up. You can choose how much you wish to fold yours. It depends whether you want to use those as tucks to hold the paper in, or whether you just want to fold them up and just leave them as folds, but you don't need to glue them down. So then you need to fold that back across. And you can see one is slightly longer than the other, and that's deliberate. So I'm just going to chop off this little bit that is hanging over, and you choose whichever side is the slightly longest, and then you just tuck one side in under the other. Simple. The only disadvantage with this is it doesn't work very well if you're going to round the corners on your booklet. So if you were going to round them here and then round them there, it doesn't really work as well. You're better off with a straight bottom on this particular one. And then what I do inside is I either lay the paper across and then stitch down here to hold the paper in, or if I want it removable, then I'll just tie some string around it like this, or some ribbon around it. And you can either have the bow inside or outside. I actually prefer it outside. It gives a little bit of decoration. Let's cut your string off. Here we go. Tie it. Put it in the right spot. Tie it. And then what I do is I put a pin through both layers of the string just to hold it in place. I get it in there while I then do the next bit. It saves you having to try and hold onto it and tie at the same time, and that gives you a nice tight ish string, but it's still enough to be able to loop paper through it. So I'll just show you, this piece of paper isn't big enough, but you can loop your paper through there, put another one on that side, and you can loop as many pieces as you want through there. Just fold it once you've looped it through, and there you go, you've got a booklet. If I put another string on the other side, and then just tie this in a bow. If you use ribbon, you can do that quite easily, or you can tuck the paper in here without any bow at all. So I'm just going to, without any string at all. So I'm just going to take that off. So you could simply just tuck your papers in, and then they can be removed, written on, and put back if you wanted to glue this into your book. So there we go, all folded back up and ready to decorate. The second one I have for you is a tie closure. So I've just got some seam binding here. This is vintage seam binding that I've had for a long time, and you just slide it down. You could use ribbon if you wanted to, or you could use some soft lace. Just tie it in a bow, and again you can use the same technique of putting a pin in it to hold it in place while you tie your bow. Actually, I'll do it this way. I generally do my bows upside down because the strings that come off it tend to sit going the other way. So my finished piece would be like that. So just trim that off. I might trim a bit more off that. Okay, now these look lovely when you first do them, but they do have a habit of fraying. So what I do in a removable book is that I don't glue it down. Just remove that pin. I just make it so that it can be slid off. So if you slightly bend the booklet, you can slide it off and then bend the booklet again slightly. And slide it back on. That way you're not disturbing the bow, and if you're just tying it and untying it every time you use this booklet, these ends tend to fray, and then you straighten them up a bit and eventually get smaller and smaller and gets a bit untidy. But doing a slide bow like that prevents you having to untie and retie the bow. Now clearly this isn't going to work if you stick this into your book, into your journal, because then you can't slide this off. So this is a really good one for using on a something that you're going to remove. The next closure is a belt and buckle. So I've got my booklet here, and I'm just going to use a piece of either really stiff paper or cardboard as my belt and just another piece as my buckle. So I just put the booklet on, fold this over to almost to the edge, but not quite, and then just fold this piece over the top so that there is some overlap. So you need quite a bit of overlap, and then just cut it to the length that you need. So I've got the belt. Now I'm going to make the buckle. So you need a piece of cardboard. It's got to be at least 2.5 inches, 2.5 times the width of your belt. You just slide it under. And fold it over. And then you need to glue it. Now I know this looks like I've got it on the wrong way, and this will go to the back. I just need to show you how I do it first. So just glue that down. And then you can slide these out, turn it over that way. Just even that up. And slide your buckle back on. Now I like to actually glue mine at the back, so I'm just going to move it out a little bit, put a little bit of glue there, slide my buckle over the glue and press down, and now I have a buckle for my booklet. You can decorate the buckle if you want. You can put something over the top of it, maybe a little heart or maybe a button or a flower or whatever you like. You can trim the ends of this. So I'm just going to make a little point on that so it just looks a little bit cuter. I'm eyeballing this, so it might not be even. And that actually helps to get it back into the buckle. Okay, once you've done that, you can glue it at the back. Just slide mine down, put a bit of glue there. You don't have to go right across, just something to hold it in place. And there you've got your buckle and belt. Slide, mine's not in the middle. Let's move it up a bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, that can be glued into a journal, or it can be a removable piece. Next option is wrap and tuck. So I've tied a bronze key to the end of a piece of seam binding. You could use ribbon for this if you wanted to. I have tried it with string, with a smaller one, but this string does not attach very well to the back of a piece of cardboard. It means that you've got to make a hole essentially, or 2 holes in the back of the booklet to attach this securely. This, however, glues really nicely. So I've glued it onto the back, and all you do is just wrap your binding or your ribbon around, and then just tuck your little piece under. So yeah, I've used a key. You could use any kind of charm. You could use a cardboard cutout if you wanted to, or you could just leave the end as it is. You could tie a knot in the end and leave a little tail, anything that just prevents that from pulling out too easily. The next closure is a tab and bracket. So you choose which way you want your fold over to be. The bracket goes on the underside piece. So just a little piece of card that is a little bit wider than your tab that you're going to use, and you glue that one on as well, just at the ends. So you need to leave enough so that it's got a good grip, just at the ends there. I'm going to lift that little string of glue up because I don't want it to glue the center down, and just pop that just close to, but not on, that center line, and just let that dry. Now I like to decorate these with a couple of little pieces, so I'm just going to put a couple of little stick-on gems so it looks like there's a brad there. You could use a brad if you wanted to, but if you use a brad, then you've got to cover it over on this side in some way. So that's my thing that I'm going to slide the tab under. So tab needs to be able to move under there. That's why you need a little bit of a gap here. So I'll just now glue this tab onto this side. Make sure I don't put any glue on that. Oh, move that up a bit. And I'm just going to stick another couple of these to look like they are bolts or screws on here. And then that just simply slides under there as a closure. Again, this is an easy peasy one. So you need a cutout. It needs to be made of cardboard that's fairly thick, so that it will hold its shape. Otherwise, eventually it's going to come to bend up and then it won't close as well. And all you do is you glue it on over the join. So you just put glue on one side of it, the side that is going to go on the underneath of the fold under bit, and then just make sure that you don't get any of that glue onto the fold over side of it. Just glue it like that. When that dries, and it's still sliding around, so I can't show you what it looks like when it dries, you just pull that out and that just slides under. So you can do this with a heart, you can do it with a button, you can do it with a ticket, you can do it with an image. Basically what you need is just something that will hold this down, whatever suits the style of the book and the journal, the booklet and the journal that you're going to work with. It will work with a removable booklet, it will work with a glued in booklet.